Hello, everyone. Welcome back to FPL Without Borders. Game week 1 is in the books, and yeah, there were a lot of surprise hauls and a lot of disappointing blanks, but so we've got a lot to unpack here. But yeah, there's another game week, and today we'll be diving into a lot of key fixtures, captain picks, and again hidden gems for game week 2, and the rest of the season as well. Um, so I'm Arsalan, and Essen is with me as well. And so yeah, before we start, if you're new around here, welcome to FPL Without Borders. We're three FPL fanatics, Essen, me, and Puneet, and we bring you analysis, strategy, and a lot of FPL guides as well. If you're new around here, so don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoy this preview and subscribe so that you don't miss out on our weekly guides and previews, etc. as well. So yeah, Essen, let's firstly go through game week 1 yene, a bit of a retrospect on how things went. Firstly, I'd like to get your view. How did your game week 1 go, and any key learnings and insights?
I think Gaming One was a very harsh reminder of how FPL is. We waited for months and months of waiting for price releases, team releases, etc. And we set up a good team. Everything looked good, but you know how FPL is. And even the first fixture went off to a good start. Salah captain, 16 points, very decent. Gakpo return, Ekiteke return, etc. So off to a good start. After that, the points just didn't seem to come because of how FPL is and how it ended. Also, people had Pickford, people had Tarkovsky, even double Everton defense. I had NDI, people had Beto to that because it was Leeds, but Leeds won that game, so that's just how it is. So I think the section that we have added in our this year's videos, that every game week that passes, it's important to sort of just go back and reflect on it, because that's the only way we learn, because we're also playing the game ourselves. We're trying to help others and we're playing it ourselves also. So it's important that we, in hindsight, look back to our decisions and see if, for example, if the decision was correct and the outcome was wrong, or that's just unlucky, or sometimes it just doesn't go in your favor. It's important to have those decisions correct. 50-50 can always go in your favor or against. So this section will hopefully add more clarity going forward and looking back at the week that has gone. The DefCon rule that has been introduced this season came into play very strongly. You saw that defenders, midfielders who had their clean sheets wiped out, they still racked up DefCon points. So, for example, a clean sheet wipeout for a midfielder, but they still got 4 points, two for playing the game and two for DefCon. So that's just as good as an assist, and maybe getting subbed off before the 60 mark. So, and for defenders especially, I think in Chelsea's case, Josh had, I think, I'm not sure if he had DefCon or not, but a clean sheet plus bonus plus DefCon is equal to like maybe a goal and a clean sheet because of how the points accumulate. So we saw this come into play, and I'm sure it'll play around your transfers and your strategy a lot more than we expected. Leeds
Yeah,
surprisingly were the better team against Everton, and as you pointed out, they created two xg. But even though they scored one, you had your budget midfielders. Arguably, the greatest one was
one thing
Reinders.
as in one thing on the
Yeah,
DefCon itself. So like before, so obviously this is a new rule, so we didn't have a lot of old data on this, right? But we went
yeah,
back in our last video and analyzed the last season's points, and according to that, we came up with a list of very like typical DefCon monsters. A lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
people
yeah,
were questioning the point that are we over analyzing this and are we like thinking about it too much? Maybe they matter not that much, but this data that you see on the right kind of goes with our hypothesis that the DefCon monsters, which were like Virgil or Lacroix or Murillo, is the one that's missing from the list. But apart from that, I think this is a pretty expected list. But a few names that pop up for me would be Senesi, 8 Nouri. 8 Nouri, we all expected him to be an attacking fullback, which an attacking left back, which he is, but he still sort of runs back and makes some tackles and all,
yeah.
recovery runs, etc. Um so I think a pretty good I think DefCon is a good metric to consider when you're looking to buy your midfielders and defenders. Uh, but yeah, I think it's also matchup dependent, I feel. So for example, when you see Liverpool playing Bournemouth. Bournemouth played very attacking game. Hence, um, I would say like Van Dijk had to make a lot of recoveries and tackles, etc. as well. But if it's, for example, if it's Liverpool is playing a low block defense, they might not have to make a lot of defensive contributions. So I think it's a lot game dependent and match dependent as well. As you don't see Forest here, I think that's probably the reason, but something to consider. Just a food for thought.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, match dependent. Even though in those tough fixtures, for example, if Everton is facing Liverpool away, it's a Merseyside derby. You would still bet on starting Tarkowski because of the defensive work he has to do. So he's not
Exactly.
necessarily an easy bench. It actually be a difficult bench because you might go for the easier fixture, but you might miss out on the DefCon points and the odd goal, because of the derby.
E-
So yeah, definitely one to consider. Uh, Ekitike and Gyökeres and Scap. Ekitike and Gyökeres are surely ones to watch. Ekitike had a flying start. Gyökeres, I think, was sub before the 60-minute mark and had a quiet game. But I think Leeds at home, and now that Havertz is injured, I think
Yeah.
he's definitely one to watch for now. And
So two
Scap
things
as
on
a
Gyökeres. On Gyökeres, number one, Havertz is out for long term. Number two, he there was reports that he apparently will be taking the penalties for Arsenal instead of Saka. One of the Arsenal reporters reported that. Obviously, I don't know if that's confirmed, but if that is the case, we'll obviously wait and watch. But if that is the case, I think Gyökeres becomes an absolute like steal in my opinion. But again, both of them have been. I think both of them are ones to watch, and I am very excited to own either of them. I'm more excited to own Ekitike, obviously. On budget midfielders, very quickly. So budget midfielders, like we have Kudus, we have Anderson, we have Reinders, and who else do we have? But like these three, I think on 5.5 and then Kudus on 6.5, amazing entry points, budget enablers for you to explore other avenues. Anderson is not just a DefCon monster. He could have had an assist as well. He played amazing. I was watching the highlights. What a player! I never
yeah.
watched him before this, but yeah. Um, and Scab like just closing out on Game Week One retro. Um, just wait and watch is my overall like bottom line. We made this Game Week One team looking at the next 6 game weeks into horizon. We had everybody had some strategy while making Game Week One team, and 1 week of data is not enough to change that strategy. So I would say like just wait for at least 1 or 2 weeks. Let the transfer window sort of get more mature and close. See how teams. So for example, City played Wolves. It will not be the same game when they play a low block defense. So right, the Wolves played very open football in which City got a lot of counter attacking chances. Guardiola was also had a knock, so Rico Lewis was um, playing more attacking rather than eight Nui. So you would see things sort of change depending on which team they're playing. 1 game week is not enough of data to sort of move away from the plan you already had. Any last thing on Scap, Essen, before we move on?
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. That it's just been 1 week, and we need to see a more solid pattern, a solid trend, some players' forms to consider. Okay, so just a quick update on the current injuries, red cards, transfer, etc. Havertz has recently been ruled out for a long-term injury. Covell also for the same reason. Konsa suffered a one-match ban. Even though it was a straight red, it wasn't a violent conduct, hence it was a one-match ban. Clivert has a short-term injury. Tosin has a minor physical injury, but still his minutes are a doubt. Guardiola had a knock, and Udogi also has a short-term injury. So I'm guessing Spence will continue in his absence. Similarly, transfers of Isak this is a no-brainer. Uh, He might go, he might not go. He's not been playing. He's 10.5 million. Similarly, Savinho has been tipped to go to Spurs, but that's one to watch. And similarly, Wissa also, he is refusing to play for Brentford. Apparently, he might go to Newcastle, and that might trigger a chain effect of Isak going somewhere else, etc. So just ones to watch. But I think all these players you can do easily without, so not a big issue.
Agreed. Moving on to the fixture ticker. Um, in the fixture ticker, looking at the 6 week horizon, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, United come on top. In fact, like honestly, I wanna go here. So game week
Yeah.
2 odds, projected goals, Arsenal and City are on top. Not surprising considering Arsenal is playing Leeds at home, and then City playing Tottenham at home. But yeah, your top four teams are on the top. Nothing surprising here. So basically, yeah, just the point that own good team players from good teams and you'll do good. It generally works out. From a clean
Yeah.
sheet point of view
Pretty
as well,
simple.
yeah, Arsenal, Chelsea, City on top. Burnley seems to be on top four because they're playing Sunderland at home. I Sunderland scored 3 goals against West Ham. They've signed a lot of players as well, and most of them are attacking players. So I don't think Burnley will keep a clean sheet, to be very honest. But this is what the market odds say. Um, so yeah, one I want to look at a longer horizon. So again, team goal projections for the next 6 game weeks, and this was updated yesterday, last night, shared by Rob T. And so Man City come on top when it comes to goal projected for the next 6 game weeks. Their fixtures are decent, but apart from the fixtures, how they played the first game, I think we do expect a lot of goals. And I, I should have had Haaland. I miss having Haaland, but I think like these 13 goals in the next 6 game weeks basically means 2 goals a game, which most of the goal share goes to Haaland regardless. So, anyways, the top four teams again are the top four teams when it comes to goal projections. So, having a Liverpool asset, Arsenal, and Chelsea is a no-brainer. And then Aston Villa is also not too far from a goal projected point of view. The surprising ones I see are Manchester United on the sixth. Did you see the game? Essence United versus Arsenal.
Yeah, it was a very, very open game. Apart from that corner, there was nothing much from Arsenal's side. United looked more threatening. Cunha and Mbeumo hit the ground running. I think in the second half, Bruno was playing a bit deeper, but that was just because maybe they were 1-0 down and that was what the match required. But United looked the much better team, and it seemed like they could have gotten a few goals. So I think, yeah. Six may be maybe a bit higher for them, but the signs do look good that they might turn their attacking intents into more FPL and actual returns.
Agreed. I think United looked good. It's difficult to pick one player for them. I think right now because like you have Sesko and Cunha and then Mbumo and then obviously Bruno with the penalties and set pieces. But I think a team to look out for in the next couple of weeks. Definitely.
Yeah.
Uh, from a clean sheet point of view, anything you want to highlight here, Essen?
No, I think the pattern is pretty similar. I think just Aston Villa has swapped places with Chelsea in this one. Arsenal, City, Liverpool again are the same. Forest are also higher on that list, and United are also there. And those who have Dorgu, they might try and utilize him because I think Dorgu also hit the post from a shot from outside the box. So at 4.5, playing as the left wing back, I think he can be the cheap budget enabler for the season. So one to watch.
100%. Dorgu's positioning I was seeing, he was basically playing left wing most of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
All right. So a couple of key fixtures to target. Essen, why don't you take us through this?
Yeah, I think we discussed this earlier, but well, from a player and team perspective, let's just dive into it a bit. Arsenal are obviously playing Leeds home, so attacking threat and defensive threat both are covered here. Gabriel and Saliba are the only ones that we feel are ones to watch because Timber White are swapping places. Calafiori did start, but Lewis Kelly is always there as an option to start or maybe sub off early. So if you are going for Arsenal asset as a transfer, you can just consider Gabriel Saliba, or if you have a goalkeeper transfer, I'm not sure you would need it. You can opt for Raya. In midfield, I think Rice, from his DefCon point of view and the fact that he's on set pieces, can be a good player to consider if you are probably downgrading or upgrading to another midfielder. And lastly, either of Saka or Gyökeres. If Arsenal, if you are saying that Gyökeres is touted to have the penalty duties, then obviously he becomes a no-brainer because Saka at 10 million without penalties just doesn't have the same appeal. So I think that's that. Similarly, Chelsea West Ham, this has become a more appealing fixture just on the fact West Ham conceded 3 goals uh, with Sunderland. So I think people, including me, are pretty much tripled up on Chelsea. Sanchez, Palmer, João Pedro. So this can be the match that you feel that your Chelsea assets will hopefully repay you back. You have Palmer, JP, obviously Chaloba. With the fact that Colvin is out, Chaloba can be your mainstay. Josh Achimpong at 4 million starting right center back. I think he can be a budget enabler. And Neto
But
was quiet in the game against Palace. Yeah, yeah.
Shalova and like both these defenders, don't you think they're like very short-term picks considering Gusto and Reece James, and then Tosin might be back
Basically,
any moment.
Toshin might be back, but the fact that Chaloba and Josh both played really well against Palace, Chaloba actually is playing left centre back in place of Colville. So, and we're not sure on Fofana also. He was on the bench, but Maresca said that there was never the plan to give him any minutes. So, I think in the near future, like Josh is at 4 million, so that transfer would never hurt. You can easily just bench him. And if you aren't so bullish on Chelsea, so you have the slots. But and James, as long as you're playing once a week, you can expect him to start. But with Champions League coming up, the Gusto will come into play more. So I think for the near future, maybe 3-4 game weeks, you can hold on to these transfers. Liverpool Newcastle, it can be a very boring match in terms of a stalemate, or it can be a very explosive match. So you people would have Salah, they might have Ekitike, they can go for Gakpo, they might have words. So all should start and be touted to well. Hopefully, I don't think Isak will feature at all, but obviously at St James's Park there will be an element of his involvement. So this can be a cracking fixture. City versus Spurs, I
I
expect it to
see.
be a very very.
Did you see Gordon in a post-match press conference he was asked about the Liverpool game, and he said something like, considering everything is happening in the market, it's going to be a fiery game. He said something like that. So I'm very excited to watch that game.
Yeah, and he was an Everton player also. So his link, the Merseyside links also come into play. So this can be a very very good match for sure. City and Spurs, I expect it to be a very very open game. Both you saw how Thomas Frank set up his team. I'm not sure he's going to just sit back and allow City to take control at the Etihad. So this can be a very
I,
very open game, in
in
my
my,
opinion.
I think like Thomas Frank will set up how he did against PSG, where he played five at the back, and Porro
Yeah,
was
man to man
mostly a,
basically.
yeah, Porro was like a right attacking wing back. So I think because also they're playing away, so that's
Yeah, but it'll
maybe
be a
how they
good
do
game
it.
nonetheless.
Yeah,
And lastly, Brentford, we expected them to do poorly, and they did just that. The manager gone, their captain gone, Mbomo gone, Wissa not featuring. So they've honestly become a fixture or a team to target. So you can back your Aston Villa assets if you have Watkins, if you have a defender, if you have Rogers, you can back them to do well, hopefully, because the Villa's game against Palace, they started off very slow, but they grew into the game, and it was a very, very open game. Both teams should have scored, neither did. That's just how FPL is.
yeah. Um, Agreed. And that's why you hold your assets. You don't make game week one transfers looking at like Villa
Yeah,
didn't
just
score,
based on one
Rogers
fixture.
didn't do
Agreed.
anything. Yeah, Brentford is a good fixture. They did sign Dango Tara from Bournemouth, so maybe attacking wise they improve, but
Yeah,
defensively, I don't know. Moving on to our game week two, Eagles Eye. Again, just for our new listeners, Eagles Eye is basically our differential picks for this game week, which we think will perform really good. So for me, I think we both think Semenyo is. ones to watch, and reason being like the last game against Liverpool, he was
Yeah,
exceptionally well. He was
yeah,
really good, and then also
he
next game
was.
they play Wolves at home, and Wolves against City, and Wolves generally as well. How they set up is they play free flowing attacking ish football, which means they leave a lot of space behind, and I think Semenyo would take advantage of that.
Agreed.
Second for me is Strand Larsen. Data wouldn't suggest that, but watching the whole City versus Wolves game,
Yeah,
the scoreline didn't. I think Wolves should have scored at least one goal. They made really good chances, and Strand Larsen
yeah,
was at the end of every chance. So I think at
yeah.
6.5, he is a very good pick, not just for this week as well, even like long term, I would say.
Yes. I
Your
think
picks.
yes, the menu point you highlighted, but our I think your choice for some menu and mine is not just influenced by the recency bias of last week. Even last season, we were very bullish on him. Remember when you had Bournemouth fixtures? Would you pick Clivert? Would you pick Otara? Would you pick Semenyo? So Semenyo was highly rated even since last season, and this season he showed that in the absence of Clivert, he can do well, and he took it upon himself to make a difference of that match. And Gyökeres, we spoke earlier. If he is on penalties, he is at a decent price point, and Arsenal's fixtures are pretty decent. And there's no Havertz also, so I'm sure he's one to watch. He obviously is he's just arrived into the Premier League. He must need some time to settle, but if you are looking for a transfer, if you aren't satisfied with how João Pedro was or how Watkins was, you can just opt for him. But I would still suggest maybe give him this Leeds game and then see if he's worthy of a transfer right now.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. Moving on to captaincy. So on the bottom left, you see the projected goals and clean sheet odds, and this is again by Rob T. These are market odds, and on the right you see fantasy footballer predicted points. Both are like a bit different, but let's dissect them. So on the left, you see the highest Arsenal are expected to score the most goals, 2.5 goals against Leeds, and after that it's City, and then you have Bournemouth, Liverpool, and Chelsea, the next three. So captaincy, and I'll also go on the right, where Salah is obviously expected to score the most points, 7.3 against Newcastle away, but also Saka and Haaland are not far behind. As you can see, 7.3, 7.2, 7.1, not much of a difference. But Palmer is expected to score less points here, and Gyökeres is. But these are the top five. Um, One thing on Salah before I asked your opinion on this, SN, is that I think I had that stat. One sec. So although Salah is playing Newcastle away, which means might be a tight game, but if you see Salah's record against Newcastle has been really good. So his last, if you see his last six games, even last game he had one assist. Before that he had two goals, one assist, two goals, one assist, one assist, one assist, two assists. So he has done good against Newcastle regardless, and I would, I'm backing Salah as captaincy option this week. What about you, Essen?
I think he would be the safe pick, no nonsense safe pick. You can just go. I'm sure he will have pretty decent ownership because most of the drafts or players that I've seen, they have Salah more than they have Haaland only. So and I'm sure Palmer's form is not the best to make him a standout captaincy option, even though he has the easier fixture. Both are away games, and Palmer has the easier fixture, but he can hold, he cannot. So Salah would be the easiest choice. Saka, even though I don't own him, and even if I did, I am only then I would captain him. But I'm sure people don't really own Saka so much. And I didn't watch the Arsenal United game in its entirety. I'm not sure how effective or he was in that game. Usually Saka is pulling all the strings, but
You know, the problem with Saka is that Rice has taken some of his set pieces, and if Gyökeres takes his penalty, he doesn't. Is he's not a
Yeah.
in FPL as
At
it was.
10 million, it's too much. It's
It's
at
too
10
much.
million, it's too much. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the fact that
agreed.
you're not captaining him regularly also. So he's like a premium asset without penalties, without set pieces, and without, captaincy material. So he
Hmm.
doesn't really scream a pick me sort of fantasy pick. So can do
Agreed.
well with the Haaland is a very, very good shout for those who have even Salah and Haaland drafts. Haaland is a very good shout. He's playing at home. Uh, I think his second goal against Wolves was amazing. The fact that he took the shot on in one go and placed it in the bottom corner, that was very, very unlike Haaland. But you can just see the amount of skill he has. That he isn't just your typical poacher. He can make things happen away from the 6 yard box also. So I think
Agreed.
captaincy is pretty open, but it might just come down to Salah, Haaland, and maybe an outside chance for the likes of maybe Palmer.
Agreed. Agreed. I think the positioning of Palmer was an issue, and that's why people are more hesitant to captain him. But in the last game, he was not very attacking from a positioning point of view. So, what do you think about that? Like, was it
Yeah,
game dependent, or is it because how the new players, uh, that's how
yeah.
Maresca is setting him up?
I'll tell you the two matches in contrast. If you saw the PSG game, the Club World Cup, he was playing as the right-sided number 10, and you saw the amount of space he had. But even the season where he had his breakthrough, he was playing as a right winger. So whenever he's on the right wing or as a right-sided number 10, he is destined to thrive more often than not. In the Palace game, he was playing as a left-sided number 10, and from that angle, he wasn't really making things happening, or maybe at times with Palmer, he just tries to do too much, where he can get an assist, but he chooses to maybe take the extra touch or goes for the shot himself. So, but against Palace, I won't be too harsh on him because Palace is a very good defensive team. You saw how they held Liverpool in the Community Shield. You saw how they did against City also. So, I won't be too harsh. Judge him too harshly, but he needs to be more involved, and maybe just maybe they may Maresca tweaks the formation that he goes out to the right. Maybe João Pedro drops as the number 10. Delap starts up front. Net on the left. So Palmer is an easy hold because of the amount of tweaks in formation Maresca can do. But we need to see more consistency in order to consider him as a captain game week in game week out because he is
Agreed.
10.5 after all.
And what do you think about JP and Delap situation? Like, I think a lot of people have JP, and obviously early subs happen, and we expected them to happen considering they have backup strikers. But do you see him starting?
I think if Maresca tweaks his formation, like I said, in until maybe we get another signing or so, it's possible that João Pedro drops as the number 10. Maybe Palmer goes to the right, and Delap can start because I think Delap is 6.5, Palmer is JP is 7.5. But I don't see that happening right now. I just see João Pedro starting up front, and he was brilliant in the preseason, or at least in the late preseason. So ones to watch. I think it won't be advisable to comment on how surety of minutes because we always knew that Delap and Pedro will share minutes, knowing that Jackson is out of the picture. But
Hmm,
obviously, Joao Pedro will get the more chunk of the minutes, regardless where he starts as a number 10 or as a striker.
makes sense. All right, I think we're done on captaincy. In summary, it's either like Salah, Haaland, or Palmer. I'm personally on
Yeah,
Salah because of his record against Newcastle. Um, if you have Haaland, if I had Haaland, I would have gone for Haaland. Saka, I don't
yeah,
think
same.
we don't think Saka is a captaincy option right now with a question mark on his penalties and his set pieces being taken by Rice as well. Uh, I think that's pretty much it. Apart from that, if you want to captain someone, that would be complete punt, and yeah, go for it. One last thing. I was just checking stats. West Ham did concede 3 goals against Sunderland, but their expected goals conceded were 0.7. So I don't know if that was an outlier situation or at the end Sunderland was just heading the ball in. I don't know how bad they're defensively, but just a food for thought when you're making a decision. They were actually top five in terms of expected goals conceded in game week 1.
Contrasting stat.
Yeah. Game week 2 bus team. So okay, on the left, this is my team. I have one dilemma which I want to discuss with you, Essen. and we'll just wrap it up in the next 5 minutes, let's say. So goalkeeper Robert Sanchez, no questions there. Then I'm starting Milenkovic. Starting him confirm, and then I'm starting Dorgu against Fulham away. The question I have is I have Pedro Porro against City away, then Anderson Manchester United home, and then Esteve Sunderland home. Which of these three should I play?
I think, Aslan, your benching headache will be solved if you bench Solanke, because I don't see Richarlison being benched unless he's sold. So Esteve for Solanke and playing a 4-4-2 might not be the worst option. You have your chance of an extra clean sheet. You have the guarantees of minutes. So I think it's a very easy decision. If you can just bench Solanke, maybe keep him as your first sub, because Anderson at home, I think the way United played against Arsenal, I do expect them to score. Maybe the most you can hope from Anderson is the odds goal from a corner, or maybe a maximum of two DefCon points. But you can keep him as your first sub. But I would go with Esteve instead of Solanke, and you opting for a 4-4-2.
Got it. Makes sense. Solanke, I'm so disappointed. He also dropped in price, which pissed me off. But
Yeah.
I hope he starts and gets his place back. Can Richarlison play on the left and Solanke up top with Kudus, or is that not? Uh,
No, because Johnson is playing on the left in place of Son. So Johnson on the
hmm,
left, Kudus on the right, Solanke up top, and then you have, I think, a midfield three. If I remember, I think Archie Gray started, Berryval started maybe, and Sar was playing.
okay. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So you're saying Estef for Solanke, and that's basically it. What about you?
yeah. Yeah, so basically, I had Konza, so he would have been really good for the game against Brentford, but he had got the red. So he's just my last sub. I brought in Esteve. He has a good fixture, Sunderland at home. I have Poro and Milenkovic, same as you. I have Salah, Palmer, currently vice captain. I have Gakpo. Ndiaye, I think he got subbed off also because he got 3 points. I'm assuming before Leeds scored, he was subbed off, maybe for the likes of Grealish. And that was the game I was hoping he would come through, but such is FPL. Rogers, currently I have the captaincy on Watkins because I'm not sure about Salah or Palmer, and I don't really see any other standout captaincy option. I might just go back to either of Palmer or Salah closer to the deadline, but I think Watkins is a differential in itself because he's 9 million, not many people have him. And if he is, because he did have a few chances, I was watching the game. So I might just stay on him, might just go back, but will definitely roll the free transfer.
Makes sense. And we both are starting Sanchez instead of Dubravka. And the reasoning for me at least is if if I start Esteve, then doubling up on Burnley defense is I think a
Yeah,
bit too
yeah,
much. If you're
yeah.
not starting
And
Esteve, it's maybe it makes sense, but Sanchez playing West Ham who don't create much, so uh, I think Chelsea defense is just better in general. What do you think?
yeah, doubling up is always risky for you, especially. And even for me, I also have Dubravka, but I will go with Sanchez. And I think I don't want to underestimate Sunderland too much. I think from the promoted teams, they have spent like 100 also, if I'm not wrong. So they are a pretty decent team. I won't be expecting it to be a very easy game for Burnley, despite what the fixture ticker says. But doubling up is just not advisable. I don't have a
Yeah.
Chelsea defender, so to me, playing Sanchez is the more logical choice.
And if even if you're a data person, Chelsea's chances of clean sheets odds are 36%, while Burnley's are 32%. So if you just follow data, even that suggests Chelsea defense is better.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
cool.
that's
That
pretty much
is
it.
that's pretty much it. That's a wrap for
Yeah,
our Game Week 2 preview, guys. Let us know in the comments who your captain will be this week and which differential you're backing. If you found this helpful, do not forget to hit that like button. It costs you nothing. It's just that small like button. It helps the channel grow, and if you hit subscribe as well, you'll get notifications for our weekly previews, strategy chats, and chip guides that we create season long, which not a lot of other channels do. So there's a lot of evergreen chips and long-term strategy content. We did another video on the terminologies that you need to know from an FPL point of view. We also did another video on the concept and the definitions of effective ownership and technical terms which you need to know if you want to progress as an FPL manager as well. So if you like all of that, please subscribe and hit like. And good luck for your game week 2 teams, and may your arrows be green.